We have spent a lot of time talking about plant water uptake with vascular tissue, root pressure, transpiration. We've spent a lot of time talking about different plant tissues and cells and organs. For a minute, I want to focus purely on plant nutrients. Plants have 17 essential inorganic nutrients or elements that they need to grow and go through reproduction. There are 9 what we call macronutrients. These are not macro because they are large. These are macro because they need a lot of them in the plants. I know this is counterintuitive to some of you, but we need to think about macro in this case as being a large amount and not a large molecule. So the first 4 on this list, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen, probably do not surprise you in the least. CHON are the big nutrients that any living organism needs on this planet. Number 5 and 6, sulfur and phosphorus, round out the top 6 and give us 98% of a plant's dry weight. What does this mean? If I take a plant and dry it, evaporating all of the water from it, the remaining weight of the plant, those top 6 elements will make up 98% of that plant's weight. That's an amazing number given what is going on inside a plant at any one time. Potassium, calcium, and magnesium also critical for a number of plant functions including growth and reproduction, but those top 6 are really the key that you should focus on. There are also 8 micronutrients. Again, micro not meaning that these are small molecules or small elements, but instead meaning that plants actually need very little of them. Chlorine and iron and so on. Zinc, copper, nickel. These are all things that if you would look at your multivitamin bottle, these have a small percentage in all of our multivitamins. But again, like for us, in our plants, they're going to act as what we call cofactors. They're going to work with enzymes to make that plant function more effectively. What we don't want to have happen is those to build up in large concentrations. Large concentrations of micronutrients would actually be toxic to you or to the plants or to any living organism. But out of this list, what we want to think about is what are critical for both our macronutrients that we mentioned a minute ago and these micronutrients as far as their use in the plants. When we look at plants in agriculture, we spend a lot of time thinking about what's the correct dosage of fertilizer to add to these plants, and we'll talk about this more later on when we talk farming and look at global climate and its effect on farming and vice versa. But on the figure in the screen, at the top you see a very nice healthy green leaf. But then there are 3 what we call deficient nutrient leaves or nutrient plants here for us. The second one being nitrogen, then phosphorus, and then potassium at the bottom. Notice the different colorations. So phosphorus deficiency actually results in kind of that purplish color on the leaves. The nitrogen deficiency and potassium deficiency actually demonstrate themselves in a similar color pattern, but notice where it's located. Nitrogen deficiency tends to be towards the center of the leaf, potassium deficiency towards the outside. So if you were keeping plants at home, either inside or in your garden, and you notice these sorts of patterns developing in your leaves, you could actually apply a correct fertilizer to deal with this and help your plant do much better and be much more successful. So the nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, or what we call Npk fertilizers, remember potassium is K, okay, that is a very common fertilizer combination for plants. Almost every plant on our planet is nitrogen or phosphorus deficient, and most of them are both, meaning that you may have leaves that look nice and green and healthy like the ones at the top, but if you added a little bit of nitrogen and phosphorus, that plant would do better. So we've started to look at alternatives to just straight fertilizers on our fields And what many folks have started using rather than the inorganic chemical fertilizers is compost. So compost is derived from decaying plant material and a mixture of bacteria. And so what we're looking for here is returning a decomposed organic matter back to the plants to help support their growth. Now, in this kind of scenario, we are actually looking for a very balanced ratio of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, and other nutrients that the plants require. Composting has become a very common practice today, and seeing more and more of it associated particularly with organic farming measures.